The Tao of Self-Confidence, episode 147. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women finding their inner journey to self-confidence 5 days a week. Get your free audiobook by visiting thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Well, hello friend, welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. I'm your host today, Sheena Yap Chan, and today I have an amazing lady on today. She is from Vancouver, British Columbia. She is the founder of the Lotus Destiny, and she's also an Akashic consultant and teacher. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Baljit Rayat. Baljit, how are you doing today? Maybe you can fill in a little bit more about yourself to the listeners.
Hi, Sheena. So wonderful to have me here. Thank you so much. So I'm Baljit Rayat, the founder of Lotus Destiny, and I have my own method called the Star Activation system, which was created through my background in architecture. And a lot of people call me the architect of the soul, so I can look at the soul blueprint and be able to assist them on their journey and connecting them to their soul's purpose and bringing their gifts and talents into reality. So I've been doing readings since 2006 and have served thousands of people globally, assisting them in attracting healthy relationships with men, women, and tapping into their authentic power, like really living their truth by creating healthy boundaries and connecting to that.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. So, Baljit, what is your cultural background?
So my cultural background, I was born and raised from London, Ontario, but my background is East Indian. My parents are both from India, and then my mom was raised in England, but still East Indian. So living in London, Ontario was very interesting because I was very much a minority living in London, Ontario. And, coming from an East Indian family, you either need to be a doctor, engineer, or surgeon or something or a dentist. So for me to step out of the side of the box, I kind of went a different route and I decided to take architectural technology. So I studied that and was in the industry for 7 years.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And I totally, relate to you when you said, being in London, Ontario and being the minority, just because, predominantly, Caucasian people there. So yeah, it's interesting. It's like a little town too. So I can totally relate. So what would be your favorite self-confidence quote?
So I have a couple of quotes. One, it came through myself. It was channeled through, but one of them is being loyal to everyone without being loyal to yourself first is sacrificing your time, energy, and power in your soul's purpose. Another one that I love is through Brene Brown, and believing that you're enough is what gives you the courage to be authentic. So they're both authenticity quotes.
I love it because I think the world is really lacking, just people being truly authentic. We see a lot of people on TV and we just, some of them, have a mask on. And I'm not saying there isn't any authentic people, but I think, the world is sick and tired of just seeing people on this movie screen or on the internet just like playing this part. They just want to see the real person and what they're all about. And I think the more authentic we are, the more we can change the world, the more people will be drawn to us and be able to do the things that we want. So Great quotes. I really love that. And in your own words, how would you define self-confidence?
My definition of self-confidence is when you're living in your truth and authentic power. So going back to authentic power, you're an actual stand for your truth. And so as we were raised, a lot of us have, divined ourselves as what our parents has taught us, what society has taught us, what our teachers have taught us, and we're in that process of relearning what our actual truth is. And so by tapping into that actual truth, your authentic truth, that brings the self-confidence. And whatever you've learned from the outside world, you use those as tools to support you on your journey.
Thanks for sharing that definition. I love how you said, being able to live in your truth and your authentic self, which is, something I always believe in, just being authentic and being the real you. So thanks for sharing that. And, Baljit, what was your life like before your discovery of self-confidence?
I was pretty miserable, but no one really knew. Like, I always had a happy, face and a smile and always made sure I looked good. And so there was this facade that I was happy, but really deep down inside, I wasn't happy. I was really lost and I was suffering from anxiety and depression, and I was a complete people pleaser. So never valued myself in relationships and always gave my power away to men. I did whatever my girlfriends told me, and this was all just for the sake of being loved and accepted. So it was all pent up inside, and my soul was longing for something deeper, and little did I know that my soul was actually longing for me.
I think it's something, that most, women deal with. It's like being the people pleaser. Society is ingrained, in women that, you should, behave this way. Don't make any noise. And really, it just helps, it doesn't help us. It ends up, we're being, we're being maybe bullied, or, men have control over us. And, we have to stop doing this, right? This is why, one of the reasons why I created this show. I want women to realize how much power they have within themselves to create anything they want in their lives, right? Whether it's to be the president, whether it's to, I don't know, walk on the moon, like anything is truly possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what was that point in your life when you realized, you are powerful too, and I mean, you can do things that you've always wanted to do, and stop, thinking that you weren't good enough?
Yeah, so 3 years going into working at an architectural firm in Toronto, I was on antidepressants for the anxiety and depression, and I had gained like 30 pounds and feeling really disconnected from myself. And something inside of me was like, I need to hire a naturopathic doctor, and I want to get off these antidepressants. And the reason being is when I went to the doctors there, it was like a walk-in clinic, this woman doctor that I went to, she basically told me that I was going to be on antidepressants for the rest of my life. And I was like, there's no way in hell I'm going to be on antidepressants for the rest of my life. So working with this naturopathic doctor, she started doing Bowen therapy. It's like it's kind of like chiropractic therapy, but it's different. There's no cracking or anything. You're just moving acupressure points in your body. So she told me that things might come up like a healing crisis, and I didn't really understand what that was. But what ended up happening is I had a total meltdown, which was the healing crisis, and it was just all the masked fears and emotion just all came out. And I had to take a week off of work and really sit with it. And it was at that point where I didn't understand what was going on for me, and it was like I had a choice to either leave the planet or live. It was really at that tipping point where I didn't know if I really wanted to be here, if I wanted to live anymore. So I remember sitting outside on the balcony in Toronto, and it was my very first conscious conversation with God or Source. And I just said, show me the way. I surrender. I give up. Like, I want to live, and I'm choosing to live, but I need you to show me. And then drastically what happened, like literally within a couple of weeks, I met my former mentor. Her name's Jennifer Longmore, and she's the founder of Soul Journeys. And I received an Akashic record reading from her. And from there, I realized just from that first Akashic record reading, there was immediate recognition with how I was giving my power away to everything, and how much of an illusion I was creating in my life that kept me in such misery, and how passive I was, how victimized I was. And I realized that I had created this, and I needed to take personal responsibility in how I was showing up for myself and for others. And so that was my biggest aha, was how much I allowed myself to be a victim in certain circumstances. Even though people didn't really know, I kept it so deep inside.
Wow, thanks for sharing that story. And, it's amazing when you can realize all the stuff that you tell yourself that really limits you from your greatness, right? And, it's great that you were able to be aware of what you were telling yourself, because there's so many people out there who have no clue, right? They just keep on telling themselves the same story over and over again, not realizing that you can change that story in an instant when you're aware of it. So I'm really glad you're able to come out of that. And because of that, what's your life like now?
Well, I'm happy to be alive. What ended up happening was I learned the Akashic Records. I was one of Jennifer's very first students, because I kept bugging her. I'm like, when are you going to teach it? When are you going to teach it? So she ended up creating a whole system, which she's served thousands of people now. So I learned the Akashic Records, and we both knew that I was going to move to Vancouver, and I just took a big leap of faith and moved across the country to Vancouver, BC, and worked for another architectural firm till I felt confident enough to take Lotus Destiny as a full-time business. And so by 2009, I asked to get laid off, and I did. Everything just happened so gracefully. And Lotus Destiny just flourished. And it's been pretty amazing, learning, really running a business. You learn a lot about yourself, and it's such a deep level of growth that anyone can ever have with running their own business. My relationships have improved. I've become super aware with just creating healthy boundaries and only being with those that are empowering and supportive, and who I can be empowered and supportive around as well.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And, it's great that you're able to, do the Lotus Destiny full time, right? I mean, it's a great feeling when you're passionate about something and really helping people along the way and making money in the process as well, right? So thanks for sharing that. And Baljit, to our listeners, if they're listening to your episode, they may be in their own journey of self-confidence. What would be that one tip you would give to them?
I would say really listen deeply to your intuition. There's many times where I've come across many women, and I was like this, where what you know so deep inside, but yet you still ignore it, and you still ask questions externally, and you keep searching externally. But it's when you stop and you listen very deeply into your own truth and you follow that gut feeling, even if it doesn't make sense, that's where you're living in alignment to your soul's purpose. And you'll notice that your experiences are way more graceful and easy, per se, because you're not struggling with having confidence in your own truth. And that's the building of the self-confidence, is actually listening to your intuition and following it.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that great tip. And, I believe following your intuition is like a really, great piece of advice, especially for women, because as women, we love to second guess ourselves, right? And it's like, are you sure? Are you sure? But really, nobody knows you more than you, right? And, these things happen, they're signs or gut feelings, arise for a reason. And you really have to just take it for what it is and just go for it, right? Sometimes we don't have to understand every single thing, right? Just go out there and the results will show. So love the advice that you gave. And, if Baljit, is there any links or social media profiles that our listeners can connect with to get to know a little bit more about you and what you do?
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook under Lotus Destiny, and you can also visit my website, lotusdestiny.com. And under services, you can check out the Akashic Records and also the Akashic Record certification. And also you can check out the Lotus Destiny Star Activation system, and feel free to email me at baljit@lotusdestiny.com for any other questions and information that you would like on.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing all that info. And to our listeners, if you want to connect with Baljit, you can also head on over to the taoofselfconfidence.com and search for Baljit's name. Her show notes will pop up along with everything else we talked about. And I really want to thank Baljit for taking the time to share her story with us. So thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. And thank you. Thank you so much for having me on this show. I'm very honored, and just to share this with you and the other women that are listening.
Awesome. It was an honor to have you on, so thank you so much. And to our listeners, be on the lookout for another new episode of another amazing woman's journey to self-confidence, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now. Thank you for tuning in to another amazing episode of the Tao of Self-Confidence. Subscribe to the Tao of Self-Confidence on iTunes and Stitcher to hear more stories of amazing women finding their inner journey to self-confidence.